Hello! This is Lou Dolphin here for my Sentinels Friday. And today we're going to be tackling weekly one-shot number 5. Which is actually a little bit of a controversial, well, not really controversial, but there are 2 copies of weekly one-shot number 5. One is the advanced version and one is the standard one. So which one of these are we looking at? It's Wrath of the Thorathian, and the one that's advanced is labeled misprint. Incoming transmission. Mayday! Mayday! This is Wagner Mars base. We are under attack by an unknown alien force. Please send help before we are overrun. Oh no, they're coming through. Signal lost. See, it's labeled misprint because... oh, I guess that's the wrong button. The intended version was for Grand Warlord Voss to not be advanced. I'm not sure how this got mixed up, but when it was released, it was found within like several hours by Migrant P that it was not intended to be advanced, and then he released the normal version. I don't know why it says ended. Oh, I see. Because he had it end on January 19th, which was actually before it was even released, once they found it was a misprint, I guess. But regardless, I did find it before it was misprinted, and I minted it even though it was advanced, and I was surprised that it was not intended to be advanced because it didn't seem awful. But I've not played it since, so we'll see how awful it actually is. But yeah, so both of these count for weekly one-shot 5, so I should probably do both of them in all honesty. We'll see how it goes, but I want to tackle the advanced version first just to see if I'm misremembering how it was. I probably actually would have lost terribly had I not done something. I don't know. But for now, we're going to tackle the advanced edition. So this is Advanced Grand Warlord Voss against Tempest, Legacy, and Dark Visionary in Wagner Mars base. Ah, the piney being who escaped me on Wagner Prime. Ready for your shackles? You shall not ruin this planet the way you did my home. Your tyranny ends here. Or maybe you should be more muscular. I don't know. I never really get a good voice for Tempest. I don't really get a good voice for anyone, but anyway. Alright, looking at our starting hands. Tempest, base power, Squall. Power, Tempest deals each non-hero target 1 projectile damage. He starts with an Elemental Subwave Inducer, equipment limited. At the start of your turn, select a damage type. All damage dealt by Tempest this turn is of that type. Reduce damage to Tempest of that type by 1 until the start of your next turn. 2 Lightning Slashes, 1 shot. Tempest deals 1 target 5 lightning damage. And Shielding Winds, ongoing limited. Whenever a hero target would be dealt 5 or more damage from a single source, reduce that damage by 2. Legacy, his base power, Galvanize. Power, until the start of your next turn, increase damage dealt by hero targets by 1. He starts with a Danger Sense. Ongoing, Legacy is immune to damage from environment cards. Fortitude, ongoing limited. Reduce damage dealt to Legacy by 1. Heroic Interception, ongoing. When this card enters play, Legacy deals himself 3 melee damage. Hero targets other than Legacy are immune to damage. At the start of your turn, destroy this card. And the Legacy Ring, equipment limited. You may use an additional power during your power phase. And Dark Visionary, her base power, Turmoil. Power, reveal the top 2 cards of a deck. Put 1 on top and 1 on the bottom of the deck. She starts with 2 copies of Decoy Projection, Distortion limited. Whenever the Visionary would be dealt damage, redirect that damage to this card. Psychic Maelstrom, 1 shot. The Visionary deals each non-hero target 2 psychic damage. And Rest the Mind, ongoing limited. Play this card next to a target other than a character card. Whenever that target deals damage, you may redirect that damage to another target. If you do, the Visionary deals the target next to this card and herself 3 psychic damage each. If the target leaves play, destroy this card. Alright, now let's take a look at Grand Warlord Voss. He's a Thorathian, on this side Conquering Alien Warlord. Setup. At the start of the game, Grand Warlord Voss enters play Conquering Alien Warlord side up. Cards are revealed from the top of the villain deck until 3 minions are revealed and put into play. Other revealed cards are returned to the villain deck, which is shuffled. Gameplay. At the start of the villain turn, if there are no minions in play, Grand Warlord Voss flips. At the start of the villain turn, if there are 10 or more minions in play, the planet has been overrun by the Thorathian army. Game over. Reduce damage to Grand Warlord Voss by 2 for each minion in play. Advanced. Reduce damage dealt by heroes by 1. So the advanced clause is going to make it a little difficult. It's damage reduction on the hero side, and it will make it harder for us to take out the minions. Voss always has an innate damage resistance for each minion in play. It's reduced damage to Voss by 2. That usually means you can't really hit Voss until there's 1 minion or no minions. But if at the start of the villain turn there are no minions, Voss flips. At the start of the villain turn, if there are 10 or more in play, he's already overrun the planet and the game ends. So you don't want there to be 10 or more minions in play. And usually, if you end up with there being 10 or more minions in play, it's probably because you'll probably die anyway, because there'd just be so much damage coming from the villain side anyway. I generally don't lose to that clause, by the way. It can happen, though. And there are several ways it can happen. Well, he flips at the start of the villain turn if there are no minions in play. On his flip side, he's still a Thorathian, Super Thorathian warrior. Gameplay. At the start of the villain turn, if there are 2 or more minions in play, Grand Warlord Voss flips. Reduce damage to Grand Warlord Voss by 2 for each minion in play. At the end of the villain turn, Grand Warlord Voss deals the hero target with the highest HP 2 energy damage, and the hero target with the lowest HP 1 fire damage. Advanced. At the end of the villain turn, the top card of the villain deck is played. So, on this side, he has less of a resistance because he's actually in on the action. He deals damage to the hero with the highest and the hero with the lowest, and as I usually say, damage to the lowest hero just makes them lowester, so it sort of sucks. So he's going to whittle down the lowest HP hero, but with 3 heroes, it's not that bad. It's only 1 fire damage. With 5 heroes, it's 3 fire damage, but there are also more heroes, so I guess it balances out. The advanced rule for this side is playing the top card of the villain deck at the end of the villain turn. So he has 2 card plays on this side. And anytime a villain has extra card plays, that gives them extra potential to get their bad cards. And I'm going to go ahead and take a look at Voss's bad card. There are some sort of not good cards in here, but the one that's bad, I passed over it, is Forced Deployment. Ongoing. When this card is destroyed, take all of the minion cards from the villain trash and put them into play. At the start of the villain turn, destroy this card. So even if you destroy minions and put them all into the villain trash, this card allows you to pull them back, or it allows Voss to pull them back. And this happens at the start of the villain turn. Thankfully, this check happens after Voss's character card check, so you can't lose the game by Forced Deployment destroying at the start of the villain turn, but if the environment destroys this card on the environment turn, then and it puts 10 or more minions in play, then you lose. But Wagner Varspace doesn't actually do that. So the only ongoing destruction is Fire in the Biosphere, which is hero ongoing destruction. But while we're here, we do have equipment destruction via Pervasive Red Dust and optional ongoing destruction by Fire in the Biosphere. Whereas in Voss's deck, the only card destruction is via the TCF Conqueror, which destroys a hero ongoing card at the start of the villain turn. It does hit each of us for 3 fire damage once it enters play because it acts at the end of the villain turn, but we have 1 round to deal with it, and even if it stays in play, it will only destroy 1 hero ongoing card. So there might not be that much card destruction in this game, with the exception of Pervasive Red Dust. But yeah, let's see what happens. So start game, we're getting 3 minions. The first, Gene-Bound Ion Lancer. Minion, this card is immune to energy damage. At the end of the villain turn, this card deals the hero target with the lowest HP 2 energy damage. Gene-Bound Psyweaver. Minion, this card is immune to psychic damage. At the end of the villain turn, this card deals each hero target 2 psychic damage. As well as the Gene-Bound Firesworn. Minion, this card is immune to fire damage. At the end of the villain turn, this card deals the hero target with the highest HP 2 fire damage. So, alright, and we also have the card play. Field Lieutenant Tamar, Thorathian. Reduce damage dealt to Thorathians and minions by 1. So not only do we have an innate damage reduction, but Field Lieutenant Tamar is reducing all of our damage dealt to the bad guys by a further 1. And then these guys are also going to act. So the Ion Lancer is damaging the lowest HP hero. The Fire Sworn is attacking the highest HP hero. The Psy Weaver is attacking all of us. So we sort of have a spread of damage. And you also note that each of these minions have a damage immunity that lines up with the damage they deal. So that might be relevant. Currently, the only problematic one is psychic damage, because this means that Dark Visionary Psychic Maelstrom cannot target or take out the Genebound Scion, or Genebound Psy Weaver. There we go. Alright, so where does that put us? So, Grand Warlord Voss has damage reduction by 6 because of the minions, and all of our damage reduced by 1 because of the advanced rule. And all of our damage to Thorathians and minions, which includes Voss, is also reduced by 1. So Voss has damage reduction of 8, and the Genebound guards and the Field Lieutenant Tamar have damage reduction by 2. So it's going to be really hard to take these things out. It would be nice if we could take out Field Lieutenant Tamar, because getting rid of a single damage reduction will help us deal more damage overall. But damage reduction by 2 will hurt in the long run. So is there anything we can do about it? I don't really think there is. Legacy doesn't have any damage dealing, and Dark Visionary only has the Psychic Maelstrom. Actually, she does have Rest the Mind. So remember Rest the Mind. If I play this next to a target, the Visionary deals the target next to this card and herself 3 psychic damage each, and we can redirect damage to a different target, which prevents the damage from being dealt to its original target. This involves hitting herself unless we destroy the target next to this card, which with Legacy's Galvanized, that 3 psychic becomes 4. With the advanced Voss rule, 4 becomes 3. And with Tamar, 3 becomes 2. So we would probably prefer for Visionary not to hit herself for 3. Although we might not have that much of a choice. Unless... I don't think that's a really good plan. I was going to think about putting it on the Psy Weaver, and then using the Psy Weaver to take out the Tamar and the Ion Lancer and the Firesworn. But anyway, we're currently on Tempest's turn, so if I use Lightning Slash on Tamar, that will do 3 damage. If we use Legacy's Galvanize and Dark Visionary uses Psychic Maelstrom, that will only hit Tamar for 1. I feel like I'm missing a point of damage reduction somewhere, though. No, never mind. I'm not thinking correctly. No, so Lightning Slash is currently going to do 3 lightning damage, so I could use it to take out any minion. I could also use it to hit Tamar for 3 points of damage and put him down to 2. But we won't be able to take out Tamar. Unless we were to redirect a minion damage to it, or 2 minion damages, because those will be reduced to 1. It's a little bit of a pickle. I think it's probably better to use the Lightning Slash to take out a minion and prevent some amount of damage, and the Psy Weaver is doing the most. So I think I'm going to use the Lightning Slash on the Psy Weaver. And now I would use my base power, but 1 is being reduced to -1, which means they're not going to be dealt any damage, so I'm just going to skip it. Tempest draws into the Stratosphere, 1-shot. Select 1 non-indestructible villain card in play other than a character card and put it on top of the villain deck. Tempest deals the villain target with the highest HP 2 projectile damage. This is a pretty useful card, not just because it deals damage to a villain target, but we get to get rid of a non-indestructible villain card, putting it on top of the villain deck. This actually means that the villain's next play is already decided. And so it provides an amount of deck manipulation, which in this game we already have a huge amount of deck manipulation thanks to Dark Visionary's power. Alrighty, so Legacy. I like the Legacy ring because it lets him use an additional power, but we don't have an additional power yet in hand, and it could be destroyed by Pervasive Red Dust. So I probably don't want to put it into play. I'd rather put something into play that would have a use. And Fortitude is a nice one to get out early because the earlier you can get damage reduction, the more you profit from it over the course of the game. So I'm just going to reduce damage dealt to Legacy by 1 and increase damage dealt by hero targets by 1. So this undoes Voss's advanced rule. And Legacy draws Takedown. Ongoing. Villain cards cannot be played. At the end of your turn, the villain target with the highest HP deals Legacy 2 energy damage. At the start of your turn, destroy this card. So this is going to be a nice card on Voss's flip side, because normally this card would only stop a villain from playing 1 card, but when a villain plays extra cards, this stops all of those cards from entering play. So Takedown is going to be nice once we flip Voss. And yes, we are going to be flipping Voss at some point in this game. We could keep him on his front side and keep 1 minion in play and figure out ways to mitigate that damage, but ultimately we can do the most damage to Voss once he loses his damage reduction, so I think we want to get him flipped at some point. Not necessarily early though, that killed me in one shot, flipping Voss like immediately and getting too many card plays, but anyway. We now have a damage increase, so I could rest someone's mind. The Ion Lancer would be targeting Visionary for 2 points of damage. So if I use the Ion Lancer to instead hit the Firesworn or Tamar, they would take 1 point of damage. I can't use it to hit the Ion Lancer because it's immune to energy damage. It's immune to its own damage. And then Visionary would reduce the Ion Lancer to 1 and then hit herself for 3. The alternative is to use Psychic Maelstrom, which will hit the minions and Tamar for 1 point of damage. And then Decoy Projection, which would redirect the Ion Lancer damage to the Decoy Projection. Well... I think... Let's see, Psychic Maelstrom is going to do 1 more point of damage. No, actually it's going to do equal damage, except Dark Visionary will take 1 more point of damage. In terms of total points of damage, Rest of the Mind would have the On Lancer to 1, and then actually Tempest Squall would be able to take it out, provided that we take out Tamar, which we could do with the other Lightning Slash that Tempest has. And then we'd be able to clear the board. So... yeah, I'm going to go ahead and rest the Ion Lancer's mind. So bear in mind that Voss's advanced rule is reducing damage dealt by heroes, but Rest the Mind is redirecting a source of damage from the villain side. So this 2 energy damage isn't being reduced at the base, but Field Lieutenant Tamar is reducing it by 1, so it will still be 1 point of damage, but it's not 0 because it's not being done by a villain, or by a hero. And now I can use Turmoil to do some deck manipulation. And since we have no idea what Voss is doing, let's take a look at Voss. Voss has the Quark Drive Translocator device. The first time a minion enters play each turn, play the top card of the villain deck, as well as Genebound Psyweaver, which we destroyed. So, do we want another minion, or do we want a device that triggers card plays the first time a minion enters play each turn? Which usually only means when Voss plays a minion on his turn, but it could also mean if we destroy Forced Deployment on a hero turn and minions enter play, then Quark Drive Translocator would play a card. Since we're trying to take out Tamar with Lightning Slash, we're not going to be able to take out the Quark Drive Translocator because it has 10 hit points, which is a lot of hit points. And Legacy didn't draw a damage dealer, and we're going to be using the Lightning Slash to take out Tamar. We do have a Psychic Maelstrom, but that's only going to be 2 points of damage once Tamar's gone. So I'm going to opt for the Psyweaver. And Visionary draws Suggestion. One shot. Select 2 cards from the villain trash. Put one on the top and one on the bottom of the villain deck. So this is another way of manipulating the villain deck beyond what we can do with Into the Stratosphere and Turmoil. Because once we know what cards are in the trash, and we already have one card in the trash, once we get another card in the trash, we could potentially use this card to not just control Voss's next play, but also to get a minion out of the trash onto the bottom of Voss's deck, and therefore unaffected by forced deployment, because it only pulls cards from the villain trash. Alright, the environment plays Maintenance Level. At the end of the environment turn, play the next environment card. At the start of the environment turn, if each player shuffles their trash into their hero deck, destroy this card. When this card is destroyed, if self-destruct sequence is in play, put this card on top of the countdown pile. So we're going to get another card play. This art is interesting, by the way, although I think this was not drawn. I think the original base game didn't have artwork on the environment cards, if I remember what I've read correctly. I don't actually have the original. I have version 2.0 or something. I think originally the environment didn't have art, and then when the enhanced edition was released, which updated a few cards, namely Twist the Ether, or sorry, not Twist the Ether, Rest the Mind. Rest the Mind used to be able to play it on any card, but that was too strong. But when they added artwork, obviously they could do things. This has, what I'm trying to say is that this card has Fright Train on it, which is a villain from Vengeance. I'm not sure when that art was drawn though, but it's nice to see future heroes and villains on base game cards. Anyway, Maintenance Level plays Meteor Storm. All targets are immune to damage. At the start of their turn, a player may skip the rest of their turn to destroy this card. So much for taking out Tamar, and so much for using Rest the Mind for that. All of us are immune to damage, including villain cards, but also hero cards. So we can't hit them, but they also can't hit us. Which might mean we can get more set up, actually. But Meteor Storm can only be destroyed if one hero skips their entire turn. Unless one of us draws an Environment Destruction card, which Tempest does have that. But he doesn't have that in hand. Anyway, Genebound Psyweaver comes out. We knew that was in play, or coming out. And now none of these guys can deal damage. Or, actually, technically they are dealing damage. It just so happens that we are immune to that damage. Which is why we can't just say, you can't deal damage. But this does enable us to get more set up. So first, does Tempest want to skip the rest of his turn? I think not. It's actually going to be pretty awkward because our intent for destroying Field Lieutenant Tamar was for Lightning Slash to deal it 4 points of damage. If Tempest skips his turn, he can't play Lightning Slash, and then we have to deal with Tamar lasting for one more turn. But I think I want to take at least one round to just play other setup cards, so I do not want to skip the rest of my turn. So setup cards, we have an equipment which acts at the start of my turn, and Shielding Winds, which would reduce damage dealt to hero targets, provided that 5 or more damage is being dealt at once. Unfortunately, I don't think that 5 or more damage is going to be dealt at once in this game. Unless there's damage increase. Oh yeah, we have Victor, which does increase damage dealt to hero targets. But is there anything that does even 4 damage? TCF Stalwart does 3, TCF Conqueror does 3. The minions do at most 3, usually 2. Does the environment do 5? I don't think it does. I mean, Oxygen Leak technically can do as much as 14 damage, since it's based on the number of cards in the environment trash, but usually that doesn't happen. Yeah, there's nothing that really does 5 or more damage, so Shielding Winds is a bit boring. So in terms of setup, the Elemental Subwave Inducer's it, really. Even though if Tempest skips his next turn, it still won't go off because the start of turn check starts with Meteor Storm since it entered play first, and then the Elemental Subwave Inducer would be checked. But we'll go ahead and put the Elemental Subwave Inducer out. I guess I could not do it, and I could just draw 2 cards. That's actually a slightly better thing, because I could play the Elemental Subwave Inducer, and then the, I keep forgetting names of things. Pervasive Red Dust will destroy it. So instead, we're going to skip. Tempest draws another Lightning Slash. That's excellent. And Gene-Bound Shackles, Equipment Limited. Increased damage dealt by Tempest to the villain target with the highest HP by 2. So this will enable Tempest to hit Voss for more. But it is an equipment card. Does Legacy want to skip the rest of his turn? No, let's get more set up. So all of these cards are ongoings except for the Legacy Ring, which is an equipment. I think I'm not going to bother playing equipments. I'm instead going to utilize Pervasive Red Dust to get equipments into play. Once we see it, I can explain what that means. So instead, I'm more willing to play an ongoing card. And Heroic Interception would make targets other than Legacy immune to damage. And what I could do, if I intend on destroying Meteor Storm, but I'm not yet ready to take out Tamar or something, since, you know, Tempest would like to play a Lightning Slash and destroy Tamar that way, I could utilize Heroic Interception for that purpose. I could have Legacy play Heroic Interception. He's immune to damage, so he wouldn't be dealt the 3 melee damage. And then Dark Visionary could skip her turn to destroy Meteor Storm. And this would be pretty nice because then the minions in Thorathian would no longer be immune to damage, and Legacy would no longer be immune to damage, but Tempest and Visionary would not be. There would be. They would not be not longer immune to damage, but Tempest and Visionary would be immune to damage, so that would sort of help with getting past the damage, getting past the Meteor Storm and the Minion Swarm. Although, like, the Psyweaver would still target Legacy, and the Fire Swarm for that matter. Instead, I'm going to play Danger Sense, just because it's set up. But Heroic Interception and Takedown are 1-round cards. Legacy Ring we don't want to put into play. We want to discard it to get it into play later. Well, let's go ahead and Galvanize even though we can't deal damage, just so we have that. And Legacy draws Superhuman Durability. Ongoing Limited. Whenever Legacy would be dealt 5 or more damage from a single source, reduce that damage by 3. Again, not super exciting when nothing deals 5 damage, but we have that now. I do not want Visionary to skip her turn. And we can't, everything's immune to damage, so Psychic Maelstrom is dumb. Suggestion, there is only 1 card in the villain trash. I would prefer to use this to get a minion on the bottom at least, and for that purpose I need at least 2 cards in the trash. So the only play that makes sense is a Decoy Projection. So now whenever Visionary would be dealt damage, even though she's currently immune to damage, this could enter play later. Redirect that damage to this card. Nice thing is that Rest the Mind hits herself for 3 psychic, but that would then be redirected to the Decoy Projection, so she wouldn't hit herself. And then we're going to use Turmoil on the villain again, because we don't know what Voss has in store. We have the TCF Stalwart, Flagship. This card is immune to melee damage. At the start of the villain turn, this card deals each hero target 3 energy damage. At the end of the villain turn, shuffle the villain trash and reveal cards until a minion is revealed. Put it into play. Put the other revealed cards back into the trash. As well as the Gene-Bound Shock Infantry. This card is immune to lightning damage. Sorry, this is minion. This card is immune to lightning damage. At the end of the villain turn, this card deals the hero target with the highest HP 3 lightning damage. So the Stalwart is not a minion, but it is an 18 HP target that has an effect despite it being immune to damage because of Meteor Storm. So, and at the start of the villain turn, this card deals each hero target 3 energy damage. So not only does it have a high HP pool, but it will hit the heroes for a lot of damage. Gene-Bound Shock Infantry is easier to deal with. And it also looks like Tempest. Might be, It might be one of Tempest's fellow species mates or whatever, or it could just be Tempest itself. I'm not sure. Someone's probably going to comment in the comments about what it is, and I like it when that happens, so feel free to inform me of what that art represents. But I think we want the Genebound Shock Infantry, even though it is a minion, because it's easier to get rid of. And Visionary draws Precognition, one shot. Reveal the top 3 cards of the villain deck. Put 1 on top of the villain deck, on 2 on the bottom of the villain deck. This is basically Turmoil with 1 more card, counted as a card play. So even more villain deck manipulation. Maintenance level. Do all players want to shuffle their trash into their deck? If we do, this card is destroyed, and I believe that's wise, so yes. This also is shuffling our decks, so whatever quote-unquote predetermined things we have, they will be in play for a while. Alright, second Meteor Storm is out, so we're super immune to damage. Genebound Shock Infantry comes out, as we knew it would, and now actually the Decoy Projection is the hero with the lowest HP, which is nice. But here we're actually in a pretty good position because 2 Meteor Storms is nice, and I'll tell you why it's nice. I'm not particularly sure which would be better. Probably Takedown for that purpose. But so let's say that Legacy plays Takedown. Takedown says villain cards cannot be played at the start of your turn. Destroy this card. Meteor Storm says at the start of their turn, a player may skip the rest of their turn to destroy this card. So say that Legacy chooses to skip the rest of his turn. He can't play a card. But suppose Legacy this turn, or this round, plays Takedown. Then villain cards cannot be played. Then let's say that we go 1 round and we get back to Legacy's turn, and Legacy now first Meteor Storm asks, will Legacy skip the rest of his turn to destroy this card? Let's say he does. This card is destroyed and his turn is skipped. But guess what would still be in play? Takedown. So Voss would not have played card. Voss would not have played a card on his turn after this card was played. He will also not play a card on the second turn after this card was played because of skipping the rest of his turn. We have 2 Meteor Storms. So on the third turn, Legacy would skip the rest of his turn, which skips the Takedown destruction, and Takedown remains in play. So we'll be able to go 3 consecutive rounds with Voss not being able to play cards. I did want to have Takedown saved for Voss's flip side, but anytime a villain just can't do things for 3 turns seems good. And it is going to make Visionary's abilities a little less nice, although we could still turmoil the environment, and we could still use Suggestion once we get a minion destroyed. And actually, if I do this in the right order, I could turmoil this turn, and I'll know what's on the top of Voss's deck, and then I could precog if I wanted to on the second turn, even though Voss hasn't played a card yet. This will reveal 2 more cards. Actually, I guess that might not be even better, but well, what I'm trying to get at is that I could make sure that the top 3 cards are minions that we want to have. But that's getting a little ahead of myself. I do not want to skip Tempest's turn. I still do not want to skip Tempest's turn. So the question becomes, what do I wish to do right now? I can't deal damage, and yeah. I only have Shielding Winds, which is a boring play, and 2 equipments, which I don't really want to have destroyed by the environment. But I probably should just get something in play. I'm scared to play the Shackles because I don't want it to get destroyed. Even though it could get back into play pretty easily. Because it's still going to be a while before I can even profit from it. So I'm going to put the Subwave Inducer out. And then you have it. I could also have skipped my play again, I guess. I guess there's no reason to play a card. Oh well. No reason to use a power. Grievous Hailstorm. Ongoing. Power. Tempest deals each non-hero target 2 cold damage. So that's a better Squall, except it's cold damage, and there is a minion that's immune to cold, but there's also a minion that's immune to projectiles, so... I do not want to skip my turn. I do not want to skip my turn. But let's go ahead and use Takedown and freeze Voss for 3 rounds. For now, it's only 1 round, but we'll go ahead and use Galvanize, although it's not going to matter, and it will expire before it can even be useful. Because it acts until the start of Legacy's next turn, which means it will expire before Meteor Storm. Anyway, Legacy draws Motivational Charge. Ongoing limited. Power. Legacy deals 1 target 2 melee damage. Each hero target regains 1 HP. And Voss can't hit Legacy because Legacy is immune to damage. Does Visionary want to skip the rest of her turn? No. No. So Voss can't play cards. So I can go ahead and use Precognition to reveal the top 3 cards, putting 1 on top and 2 on the bottom. I could do that now, and I will. So we reveal Genebound Shock Infantry, which is not the one that was just played. First Lieutenant Victor, Thorathian, increased damage dealt to hero targets by 1. And TCF Conqueror, Dreadnought. This card is immune. Typo. This card is immune to melee damage. At the start of the villain turn, destroy 1 hero ongoing card. At the end of the villain turn, this card deals each hero target 3 fire damage. This is the the villain hero ongoing card, destruction card. And this will be going on the bottom for sure. We also have the Thorathian that increases damage dealt to hero targets. I believe that's more deadly than the Genebound Shock Infantry. Because I'm pretty sure First Lieutenant Victor is going to single-handedly increase damage to hero targets by 3 points rather, because of the Genebound Sideweaver. So I'm going to put the Shock Infantry on top. This is not going to be played for a while, but now we know that there's a minion on top of his deck. Actually, wait. Never mind. We know Victor's not coming out for a while. And potentially Victor will do less damage. I'm second guessing myself. Because of the takedown trick, it will be 3 rounds until Voss will get to play another card. And so... Like, I want to put the minion on the bottom, I think. So I think Victor might be better because by the time Voss is able to play Victor, there will not be too many things in play. So I'm going to go ahead and put Victor on top. And on the very bottom, I'm going to put the Conqueror because it's worse. So if you pay attention to the 2 turmoils I've used and the precognition that I've used, we now know the bottom 4 cards of Voss's deck. Do you remember what the bottom 4 cards of Voss's deck were? This is a test. I believe the bottommost card we should be able to remember is the TCF Conqueror. The card below that is the Genebound Shock Infantry. By below, I meant above it. Then the card above that is the TCF Stalwart, and the card above that is a Quark Drive Translocator. Which means that the 15 cards above it are the other 15 cards. Namely, we still have 3 forced deployments. There's a phrase that I can't remember. I'm just terrible with phrases and names. I just can't remember them. And it always makes it awkward when I have this awkward pause as I try to remember it. 3 forced deployments that we don't know where they are. But they're somewhere in the top 15 cards of Voss's deck. If I wanted to, I could use Turmoil on Voss's deck. I do know the topmost card, but I don't know the card below it, and if it so happens to be a forced deployment, we could shuffle it to the bottom instead. But let's control the environment this turn, because the environment has an immediate action, whereas Voss has delayed actions. So we have a villainous weaponry. Increased damage dealt by villain targets by 1. And we have a maintenance level, which will play the top card of the environment deck, which actually means that it will not just be maintenance level that enters play, but something else. I think villainous weaponry, because it will be a while before, well, yeah, I'll just put villainous weaponry on top. It's easier to get rid of. We know what the card play is, and yeah, I mean, the minions are going to hit harder once they can deal damage. We're just going to have to deal with that somehow. Precognition is drawn, so we got it back. And now the environment plays villainous weaponry. And now Voss is sitting with his hands under his butt. And none of these cards can hit us. Alright. So I do not want to skip the meteor storms. I can select a damage type. It doesn't actually really matter just yet. But damage dealt to Tempest would be reduced by 1 of this type. So the question is, what is going to be hitting Tempest the most? And I think it's going to be the psychic damage from the Psyweaver, eventually. Because that's the only thing that's hitting Tempest. The other things hit the highest HP or the lowest HP, which isn't going to affect Tempest. So eventually, psychic will matter. But now we know that, well, I have a Grievous Hailstorm now, so I like the Grievous Hailstorm. That's going to help with hitting things later. And actually, I selected Psychic, but if I could deal damage this turn, it actually would have been better for me to select a damage type that a minion is not. Because if I select Psychic, all my damage dealt this turn is Psychic, and the Psyweaver is immune to Psychic damage. So the Grievous Hailstorm does cold damage, but the Subwave Inducer changes my damage type, which allows me to hit any minion I want, but I can't hit anything because they're immune to damage, so I'm going to skip that power. Tempest draws Chain Lightning. One shot. Tempest deals 1 target 4 lightning damage. Tempest may deal a second target 3 lightning damage. Tempest may deal a third target 2 lightning damage. Exciting. Alright, so our damage increase is gone. And the other message was that Tempest is no longer dealing damage of that type because that damage selection only mattered for that turn in terms of damage dealt by Tempest, but damage dealt to Tempest is still reduced by 1 of that type. Do I want to skip the rest of my turn? I'm going to say yes. And now that skips Legacy's turn. You can actually see in the rewind button that Legacy's start of turn was entirely skipped. This actually looks rather strange because I can rewind all the way to Visionary's previous turn. Normally you can only rewind to the previous hero turn. I wonder why there's so many things here. It's actually, I guess it's because Legacy's play a card would have updated so that Tempest's previous turn was the thing, but since we'd never got to his play a card, it doesn't do that. That's probably unintended, to be honest, but anyway, I could rewind this far if I so wanted to, but I don't want to because that would violate my pseudo mint. I do not want to skip the rest of my turn because we still have Takedown in play. See, it's still there. See, it's still in play. And I think my original plan was to use Suggestion, but we still only have 1 minion in the trash, and I can't Psychic Maelstrom, so I might just do my second Precognition. So this reveals the top 3 cards of the villain deck. We know one of them. We don't know the other 2. Topmost is First Lieutenant Victor. So let's see what's the top 3. We have First Lieutenant Victor. We have Gene-Bound Soldier. Minion. This card is immune to projectile damage. At the end of the villain turn, this card deals the hero target with the highest HP 2 projectile damage. And Forced Deployment. I already read this card at the start of the game, so you remember what that means, right? So there's one of the 3 forced deployments. So what does that mean for us? We could put it on top, It will not be played for several rounds, though. But we could put it on top, and that way one of the three will not be played. The issue, though, is that by the time it does enter play, some number of these minions in play right now will be in the trash and therefore called back upon. But forced deployment on the bottom of Voss's deck is probably the worst place for it. You really want the forced deployments to be towards the top of the deck, just because they will have minimal effect there. And then we have Victor again, as well as the Gene-Bound Soldier, which we're probably going to go ahead and put on the bottom of the deck, just because it's a minion. You would rather there be minions on the bottom of the deck and forced deployments on the top of the deck. Ideally, you never see forced deployments, but this game is going to be taking a while. Especially since we have not been able to deal damage for a while. So I think I'm going to put the forced deployment on top. So we'll do that. Forced on top. And we'll put the minion on the very bottom. And now if you paid attention, we now know the bottom 6 cards of Voss's deck. I'm not going to keep doing this, but I'm just going to reinforce the point that if you remember your actions, you know what will happen. I also lied the previous turn because I said I didn't know the top 15 cards of Voss's deck, but we did. We knew the top card. Anyway, the very bottom is the Gene-Bound Soldier. The card above that is First Lieutenant Victor, which is way over here. The card above that is the TCF Conqueror, I believe, and then a Gene-Bound Shock Infantry, and then the TCF Stalwart, and then the Quark Drive Translocator. Those are the bottom 6 cards. The topmost card is Forced Deployment. And that leaves 12 cards, 2 of which are Forced Deployments, and a variety of other things in between. I'm gonna turmoil the environment. Reveal Fire in the Biosphere. At the end of the environment turn, this card deals each target 2 fire damage. Each hero must either destroy one of their ongoing cards or take 2 more fire damage. At the start of the environment turn, one player may discard 2 cards to destroy this card. And then Pervasive Red Dust. At the end of the environment turn, destroy 3 equipment cards. At the start of the environment turn, if each player discards 1 card, destroy this card. When this card is destroyed, each player may put 1 equipment card from their trash into play. I have been waiting for a Pervasive Red Dust, and there are 2 copies of it in the environment deck. One of them is currently in revealed state, so it's not actually in the environment deck. Legacy has no equipments in play, and Tempest put that Elemental Subwave Inducer in play for some reason. I guess that was the turn I said I shouldn't have played that, but it was too late. But we do have the Gene-Bound Shackles that we could get into play via Pervasive Red Dust. Pervasive Red Dust will currently destroy Elemental Subwave Inducer, but note that at the start of the environment turn, each player could discard 1 card to destroy this card, and then when this card is destroyed, we also get to put 1 equipment card from our trash into play, which, if, for instance, Legacy discards the Legacy Ring, then there's an equipment in Legacy's trash that can be put into play, so the Legacy Ring will be able to be played for free, which is nice. And we do actually have another damage-dealing power, not damage-dealing, we have another power in Legacy's hand, so now the Legacy Ring would be useful. Although it would still be 1 more round before Legacy could profit from it, but... we would lose the Elemental Subwave Inducer, but that's not particularly exciting. The alternative is Fire in the Biosphere, because it's not actually going to hit us, although it would potentially hit the villain targets for us for 2 fire damage. Oh, sorry, no, never mind. Let me take this back. Assuming that you weren't already immune to damage, this would hit each target for 2 fire damage. Actually, we could do it on like the next turn. Because it doesn't do this damage when it enters play, it's just something that happens at the end of the environment turn. And it has an easy means of destruction. But I want to do Pervasive Red Dust, because there are 2 copies of it in the environment deck, so let's get rid of 1 of them. Visionary draws Twist the Ether. Ongoing. Play this card next to a target. Whenever that target would deal damage, the damage type changes to a type of your choice and is either reduced by 1 or increased by 1, your choice. If the target leaves play, destroy this card. That's an exciting card. Oh no, pervasive red dust! Whatever I mean to do. Alright. Take down. Voss couldn't play cards. These cards can't deal damage. This Meteor Storm trick works really well with Legacy. Also works pretty well with Guys, actually, because a lot of his cards get destroyed at the start of his turn. Although a lot of those effects would end up dealing damage, but yeah. And if you can't deal damage, it's a little boring, but Guys would be another one that benefits from this. Actually, any hero who has a card that says at the start of your turn, destroy this card. If you play that card after Meteor Storm enters play, then the turn after, you just destroy Meteor Storm by skipping the rest of your turn. You still reap the benefits of that card play, whatever it does. But Tempest does not want to skip the rest of his turn. I think what I had wanted to do at some point was to use Into the Stratosphere to control Voss's deck even more. But I guess I could do that on any turn. I would like to get Twist the Ether on Tempest, because with Grievous Hailstorm and Twist the Ether, he'll be able to do 3 damage before damage reductions to all targets. And he would be able to change his damage type, or rather Visionary would, so we could get past the minions' damage resistance if needed. Although we haven't seen any cold minions, and we know the top cards of Voss's deck, so I don't know. So what would I rather do? Well, I'm going to be discarding the Genebound Shackles to get it into play. I could also just play Genebound Shackles, and I could discard Shielding Winds and get my Elemental Soul Wave Inducer back. Because Shielding Winds is a boring card. Because the other cards don't deal damage, and the Shielding Winds... Yeah, I think I'm going to play the Genebound Shackles. And then I'm not going to use power because Meteor Storm's still in play. Vicious Cyclone. Ongoing Limited. Play this card next to a target. At the start of your turn, discard up to 3 cards. Tempest deals that target 1 projectile damage for each card discarded this way. If the target leaves play, destroy this card. So this is going to be an excellent card once we're set up. I'll discuss that when I play it. And I am going to skip the rest of my turn. So we are no longer immune to damage. But Takedown is still in play! How has it lasted this long? How? Alright. So I could use Psychic Maelstrom, but I would be doing 0 damage because Galvanize is not active, and you can tell because if you hit the Lightning Bolt, there are no effects in play. So damage dealt by hero targets being increased by 1 is not happening. So Psychic Maelstrom does 2 damage, reduced by 1 by Voss's Advanced Rule, reduced by 1 by Field Lieutenant Tamar. Suggestion, again, there's only 1 card in the villain trash. Twist the Ether is the only thing that's useful. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in play. And I could play this on Voss to reduce his damage by 1 permanently, although he's still not flipped. I could play this on like the Psyweaver or something. But I'll play this on Tempest because I'll be able to increase all of his damage by 1. And let's go ahead and turmoil the environment again. Wagner Mars base. Alright, we have a Fire in the Biosphere. Actually, it's literally the same 2 cards revealed. There's the other Pervasive Red Dust. So, yeah, remember that Genebound Shackles I put into play, and then I said I could get the Elemental Soul Wave Inducer into play? That's not actually true anymore, because the Genebound Shackles will get destroyed if I choose to put Pervasive Red Dust on top. But now we know Now we know that there's no more pervasive red dust. I was thinking of doing pervasive red dust in all honesty, but this would hit us for 2 fire damage and hit the villain targets for 1 damage. And then, actually will not hit legacy. It will destroy the decoy projection, and Tempest will probably not want to destroy that. I don't know, we're no longer immune to damage, so this can help us towards getting rid of villain targets. So remember, we still have to do that. Oh boy. I think I'm going to opt for the fire in the biosphere. Because we need to make headway somewhere. If I put pervasive red dust in play, it would have minimal effect and then there'd be no more pervasive red dusts, but at least I know where the other one is now. So I'm gonna put fire in the biosphere on top. Visionary draws a mind spike, 1 shot. The Visionary deals 1 target 3 psychic damage. Alright, so do we all agree to discard a card if we do destroy pervasive red dust? Yes. So I'm still going to discard Shielding Winds. And Superhuman Durability is another equally dead card. And now, these are all nice ones. But I'm going to opt to keep damage dealers because Legacy needs to get... Well, I guess if Legacy plays Motivational Charge on this... Well, no, we can't, because Pervasive Red Dust. Never mind. Alright, never mind. I'm going to lose a Decoy Projection here. And I could put a card into play right now. Or I could put the Elemental Subwave Inducer in play right now, except... There's no point. I will just get destroyed. No! Oh boy, I forgot what I was doing. Alright. I am going to rewind because that was a stupid thing. I know this goes against the mint rules, but this isn't really a mint, is it? I forgot that Pervasive Red Dust was not put on top of the villain deck. Sorry, guys. Yes, we all agree to discard a card, and now I am... Well, I'm still going to put Shielding Winds, but now Legacy is going to put the Legacy Ring, and we're still going to do the Decoy Projection. Because now we know the Pervasive Red Dust is on the top of the... is on the bottom of Wagner Mars base. I can get these cards in play. Yes, I do realize that this is now a near mint. I'm not going to be able to say mint parentheses replay. I'm going to put near mint, but that is a thing I've done several times where I totally forgot what I was doing because I was too busy talking and it messed up my play, and so whatever. If I were thinking, this would have been a mint, so we're just going to say near mint parentheses replay. Alrighty. Feel free to yell at me in the comments for my stupidity. Alright, Fire in the Biosphere, which we put on top. And this is going to do only 1 damage to the villain targets because of Tamar. It's not going to hit the Firesworn at all. But it will hit the villainous weaponry. It will not hit Voss. Legacy is immune to environment damage. It will hit Tempest. And Visionaries was redirected to the Decoy Projection. But it doesn't really matter the order. I generally don't use rewind when I'm going for mint, but that one really just bothered me. I know there was a previous one shot where I did not rewind despite doing a silly mistake like that. But this time it's a replay, so it doesn't really matter. You could just pretend that I didn't do it, because if I were thinking, I wouldn't have done that action. It wasn't I'm cheating thing. It was I just brain farted, which is honestly what the undo button is for brain farts. But it makes sense for one-shots to, on a mint, not enable undo, because otherwise you could take advantage of the system. You could use Visionary's Turmoil just to know what the top card of Voss's deck is, and then undo the turmoil, and then turmoil the environment instead or something, which is cheap. And cheaty. Alright, so Legacy definitely doesn't want to destroy an ongoing. I mean, he could destroy Takedown, but that would defeat the purpose. He's immune to fire damage anyway, so it doesn't matter. Tempest could destroy Grievous Hailstorm, and Visionary could destroy Twist the Ether, but instead, I'm just not going to destroy anything. And now Tempest takes the damage, Legacy's immune, and Visionaries is redirected to the decoy projection, which is destroyed, which is fine, because it would have been destroyed eventually anyway. Alright, I can rest the mind now. And actually, I could take out the Villainous Weaponry with this, which is nice. Actually, I could do several things with this. I can destroy the Genebound Psyweaver, for instance. And this way, we lose 3 points of damage to each hero target. So that's 9 points of damage saved. If I hit the Villainous Weaponry... Why is that saying +1? Oh. Yeah. It's... This damage number doesn't actually update when it's being redirected for some reason. But it is 2 damage to... the minions. 2 damage to Tamar. I wouldn't be able to take out Tamar, though. Also bear in mind, Visionary will hit the On-Lancer for 1 point of damage and hit herself for 2 because of Rest the Mind. Which is fine. Because this is currently directed at Visionary anyway. No, it's directed at Tempest, never mind. So I'm saving currently 3 points of damage to Tempest this way. So I think that's worth it. 2 points to Visionary versus 3 points to Tempest. And 1 point to the On-Lancer. Alright, well I can't destroy the Firesworn. I could take out the Psyweaver, that would save 9 points of damage. I could take out the Shock Infantry, that would save just 3 points of damage to Legacy. Because of Fortitude. I could take out the Villainous Weaponry. And then the Firesworn does 1 fewer point of damage, the Psyweaver does 3 fewer points of damage, the Shock Infantry does 1 fewer point of damage. So that's 5 points of damage saved, which is less than 9. So I'm going to take out the Psyweaver. And that wasn't an awful turn. Alrighty. I do have Twist the Ether on, so I think this doesn't matter in terms of damage dealing. So it just matters what damage Tempest is likely to face by his next turn. And I honestly don't know. With Grievous Hailstorm and Twist the Ether, Tempest is doing 2 points of damage across the board. Although Field Lieutenant Tamar is going to be reducing that. But we could take out Tamar with Lightning Slash. So I think that's wise. And the On-Lancer will be destroyed by the Grievous Hailstorm, though. Actually, no. If I use Twist the Ether, I could save the On-Lancer. Yeah, I'm going to save the On-Lancer, I think. So 2 points of damage reduced by 1 by Voss, reduced by 1 by Twist the Ether. Well, yeah, it would not hit the On-Lancer. Actually, I could even select energy damage and then no be immune. Alright, not being coherent right now. I'm just trying to think. So the On-Lancer we can save to redirect its damage if we need to. And the Firesworn is going to be hitting Legacy, and the Shock Infantry is going to be hitting Legacy. So it doesn't really matter. Well, what would matter is what's on top of Voss's deck. And Visionary can actually use Suggestion now. There are 2 cards in the Villain Trash. They are both Psyweavers. But I could use Suggestion to put that on top of the villain deck, and then I could use Turmoil to bury one of the Psyweavers. That seems wise. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just gonna select Energy. And I do need to get rid of Tamar. Tamar's being annoying. So Lightning Slash on Tamar. So, see, multiple cards change the damage type. Choose the final damage type. It's giving me a choice here because Elemental Subwave Inducer says all damage dealt by Tempest this turn is of that type, but Twist the Ether says whenever the target would deal damage, the damage type changes to a type of your choice. Although I guess technically Twist the Ether acts after Elemental Subwave Inducer, I think by the wording. So anyway, I still get to choose the type of damage, so I'm just gonna make it cold and increase by 1. And this gets past all the damage reduction, and now Field Lieutenant Tamar's destroyed. Yay, we did it! Actually, I guess I could put Tamar on top of the villain deck, and then it will get back into play immediately. That seems a little silly. Actually, no, that's not even that silly, because the villainous weaponry we could keep in play, and then the Ion Lancer would be able to hit Tamar for more, I guess. Let's hit each non-hero target for 2 cold damage, shall we? Okay. Because I do want to keep the Ion Lancer, so I'm going to select Energy here just so the Ion Lancer is immune to damage. I will take out the Shock Infantry. So this damage type is anything but Lightning, so Energy increased by 1. I can't get the Firesworn out. But let's select not Fire, Infernal, increased by 1. And then I don't think I can hit Voss, but we'll try. Let's select Fire this time, increased by 1. We did it! That was impressive. Alright, so the reason we actually did that point of damage was because of the Nemesis bonus. So Tempest and Voss are Nemesis, so damage dealt by 1 to the other is increased by 1. Gene-bound Shackles is increasing damage dealt by Tempest to Voss by 2 because Voss is the highest HP villain target. And Twist the Ether is also increasing Tempest's damage by 1. So that was 2 points of damage by Grievous Hailstorm, increased by 2 by the Shackles, increased by 1 by Twist the Ether, increased by 1 by the Nemesis bonus. That's 6. Reduced by 1 by Voss's advanced roll, reduced by 4 because there are 2 minions in play. That's still 1. That was awesome. We did our first blood. Now, I could keep the villainous weaponry in play for some reason. Because I forget, I think the force deployment's on the top of the deck right now. But if I use Suggestion to put Tamar on top and bury a minion, then I'd have to destroy Tamar again, which would suck. So maybe I don't want to do that. Let's just keep it simple, I guess, and destroy villainous weaponry. Actually, I don't think I can. Never mind. Yeah, never mind. I forgot. I don't have Galvanize. Tempest draws Aquatic Correspondence. 1 shot. Draw 3 cards. Takedown was destroyed. You worked so well for me, my friend. But now with the Legacy Ring in play, I should play another card. I should play a card that gives me another power, like Motivational Charge. So now I have 2 powers. I have Galvanize, which increases damage dealt by hero targets by 1, and I also have Motivational Charge, which deals damage and hero targets regain HP. I should Galvanize first. Not that it actually matters, but now I could take out the Firesworn or the villainous weaponry. I'm going to take out the Firesworn. And yeah, so we got the Legacy got the benefit from Galvanize. He doesn't normally get the benefit of Galvanize unless the Legacy Ring is in play. And Legacy draws Bolster Allies. 1 shot. Each player draws a card. Alright, so I think that suggestion is what I want to do. And with villainous weaponry out, the Ion Lancer's damage is increased by 1. So it will be doing 3 energy damage. So if I put any minion out, I can destroy it immediately. I just can't destroy Field Lieutenant Tamar immediately. But if I do put Tamar in play... Actually, I don't think it really matters, because if I put a minion in play, it will get destroyed immediately, which will have the same situation. Anyway, yeah, alright. I'm going to suggest the Psyweaver and the Firesworn, just because that does the fewest damage. And I'm going to put the Firesworn on the top, so the Psyweaver's on the bottom, and now I know the top of Voss's deck. Actually, I know the top 2 cards of Voss's deck. We have a minion, and we have... we have Forced Deployment, so I could use Turmoil to get Forced Deployment on the bottom. Now, we're going to Turmoil the environment again. Wagner Mars Base. Oxygen Leak, reduce all fire damage by 3. At the end of the environment turn, one player may discard 1 card to destroy this card. At the start of the environment turn, deal each target X toxic damage, where X equals the number of cards in the environment trash. As well as Villainous Weaponry. Increase damage dealt by villain targets by 1. So we'd have another damage increase, which actually wouldn't affect anything because the Genebound Ion Lancer is going to destroy the minion anyway. Oxygen Leak is actually tempting, because this will deal each target a number of damage. But if Legacy plays Heroic Interception, he will hit himself for 3 melee, but then Tempest and Visionary are immune to damage, and Legacy is immune to environment damage because of Danger Sense. So we would be able to use Oxygen Leak just to have all villain targets be dealt a large number of toxic damage. But Villainous Weaponry is not going to do anything for the time being. So I'm going to put Villainous Weaponry on top. Visionary draws Mind Spike. Alright, Fire in the Biosphere. I probably want to destroy this now, though, because I don't need that 2 fire damage to happen. So someone can discard 2 cards, right? I think Tempest wants to keep cards for various reasons. And Visionary has a lot of damage dealers right now. But I think if Visionary discards 2 cards, then Legacy could use Bolster Allies to get her another card. So I'm going to have the Visionary discard 2 cards. We're going to lose a Mind Spike at least. And now Mind Spike or Psychic Maelstrom. I'm going to keep the Psychic Maelstrom, just so I could potentially hit any minion that enters play in the future. Voss plays the Firesworn. The Ion Lancer can't hit Voss. Could take out the Villainous Weaponry. Could reduce this Villainous Weaponry to 1. But no, let's take out the Firesworn. And on the Ion Lancer is destroyed by Rest of the Mind, and Rest of the Mind is also destroyed. Voss has no cards in play. And Tempest is not the highest or the lowest HP hero, so Voss isn't going to be trying to hit Tempest. And the top card of Voss's deck is Forced Deployment, and then when Voss flips, he's going to be playing another card, so we don't actually know at this point what that card will be. It could be anything. I think probably Psychic is the safest bet. Alright, so I'm going to take the opportunity now that I have it to play Vicious Cyclone. I can play this card next to Voss, and at the start of Tempest's turn he can discard up to 3 cards and deal Voss 1 projectile damage for each card discarded this way. That 1 becomes 2 by Twist the Ether, 4 by Genebound Shackles, 5 by Nemesis bonus, and 6 by Galvanize. But the best part is that that's 6 projectile damage done up to 3 times. So he could do 6 projectile damage 3 times for 18 damage. The only thing that can mess that up is if minions enter play, which would reduce damage dealt to Voss by 1 for each minion in play. So that would be the only means of it getting reduced, but it's still going to be massive damage to Voss. So I'm going to put the Vicious Cyclone in play next to Voss. And now I'm going to utilize the Grievous Hailstorm. And now that there are no minions in play, this is going to do super damage to Voss. So let's make this melee increase by 1. Oh, 6 damage. We still have the damage reduction on Voss's front side. Projectile increase by 1. The Villainous Weaponry's gone. And then Psychic increase by 1. That one's down to 2. Tempest draws Reclaim from the Deep. 1 shot. Each player may take a card from their trash and put it on top of their hero deck. You may draw a card. That will enable Tempest to get any card back into his hand pretty easily, as long as it's Lightning Slash or Shielding Winds. Alright. Let's bolster our allies. Tempest draws Electrical Storm. Ongoing limited. At the start of your turn, Tempest deals each non-hero target 1 lightning damage, which will be nice to Voss. Also will help take out the minions that enter play on Voss's turn. Danger Sense is already in play. Mind Spike we've already seen. So again, we have 2 powers, so we'll increase damage dealt by hero targets, and I could hit Voss with this, but I think it's exactly 2 points of damage. I'm gonna take out the Villainous Weaponry while I have the chance. Regain hit points. So we're in a pretty good position, and we're gonna... Voss is finally flipping. Legacy draws Fortitude. Voss is finally flipping, so we're gonna see some fun things happen. We're gonna use Mind Spike because that will do more damage to Voss. And now I'm... well, I could use Turmoil on Voss's deck, but I do know what the top card is a Forced Deployment. If I reveal the top 2 cards, I would potentially still put that Forced Deployment on top. So I think we're just going to do the environment again. Villainous Weaponry and Oxygen Leak. And by the time Oxygen Leak would deal damage, it will do 7 toxic damage at the start of the environment turn to each target. As long as heroes are fine with that damage, which they can be if Legacy uses Heroic Interception, which he doesn't really have a better card play right now, so that's fine. The alternative is Villainous Weaponry. On the other hand, Oxygen Leak is just really easy to get rid of. As fun as it can potentially be, it's really easy to get rid of. It's also going to reduce all fire damage by 3. And Voss does do fire damage on his flip side. Hero target with the lowest HP is dealt 1 fire damage. That would negate the fire damage. And if he ends up playing the Firesworn, it wouldn't act. Yeah, Legacy doesn't really have anything worth playing, so I might as well do the Oxygen Leak thing just for fun. Visionary draws Cerebral Hemorrhage. 1 shot. The Visionary deals up to 3 targets, 2 psychic damage each. So it's a more controlled Psychic Maelstrom. Oxygen Leak is in play. I do not want anyone to discard a card. I don't think. Right, yeah, we're not discarding a card. Oxygen Leak is in play. Oh no, what shall we do? Forced Deployment. Oh no, what shall we do? And Oxygen Leak. And Forced Deployment. The two topmost cards in Voss's deck were forced deployments. Oh, this will be fun. Alrighty. Well, it's actually going to be a really good time to play this Heroic Interception, because this will save Tempest and Visionary from a lot of damage, and Fortitude will also save Legacy a bunch of damage. And even though the forced deployments will not be destroyed before Oxygen Leak goes off, yeah, it's actually a fine time for forced deployment to even go off, because we have 4 minions in the trash. And remember, there are 3 copies of forced deployment, so 1 is still left to be discovered, but forced deployment when there are only 4 minions in the trash is pretty good. Select a damage type. Well, we do know that, or no, with Heroic Interception this doesn't even matter. So I'm just going to select Radiant, because Tempest will be immune to damage. But Voss didn't actually play a minion, so Voss has no damage reduction right now. None. So I can discard 3 cards and do a lot of damage to him. These are all pretty good cards, though. Like some really good cards in here. Like, I want to keep the Aquatic Correspondence because this would feed the Vicious Cyclone. I want to keep the Chain Lightning because then I can better take out the minions that enter play, although with Twist the Ether and Galvanize, I might not need this as much. Electrical Storm I would like to play this turn, and then with Twist the Ether and Galvanize, I can take out all the minions automatically. Into the Stratosphere I would like to keep because it provides villain deck manipulation, which I was going to use as I was stacking Voss's deck while he couldn't play cards, but I never got around to it. And Lightning Slash just does a lot of damage, and Reclaim from the Deep allows me to get any card back, especially one that gets discarded this way. But I think Reclaim from the Deep's a little boring. So I definitely want to keep Electrical Storm, and I probably want to keep Lightning Slash. If I'm using Electrical Storm, I don't need Chain Lightning as much. It does do a lot of damage, but I'm going to lose Chain Lightning. And now some big dilemmas here. But I think we have so much going for us, I don't need deck manipulation from Tempest. And now all of this is increased by 1. Or all of this does 6. Was it 6 damage? 6. 6 damage done 3 times is sick. Oxygen Leak is out, by the way, so I do not want to select Fire. Right? Reduce all fire damage by 3. So don't do Fire. Fire is the one you don't want to do. And let's get that Electrical Storm out. And hit Voss for 7 now. So we just did a bunch of damage on Tempest's turn, and we draw an Elemental Subwave Inducer, which is already in play. And let's stop heroes from being dealt damage, and then Galvanize, and then Motivational Charge. Not as exciting of a turn, but not everyone can be Tempest. We draw another Bolster Allies. And if I'm going to play something, I might as well play Cerebral Hemorrhage, because I don't think I need to control Visionary's damage in this game. And a Turmoil. And I'm just going to select Voss, because I haven't done it in a while. We have the Gene-Bound Soldier. I might have put him on top at some point, I don't remember. And then the Quark Drive Translocator, which is dangerous if it's the first card that Voss plays, because if the second card plays a minion, then the Quark Drive Translocator is going to play another card. So let's put the Soldier on top. Visionary draws Demoralization. Ongoing limited. At the start of your turn, the Visionary deals each villain target 1 psychic damage. Some nice automatic damage dealing, much like... What was the card I have in hand? Or in play? Electrical Storm. Alright, this is dealing 7 damage, but Heroic Interception makes Tempest and Dark Visionary immune to damage, And Danger Sense makes Legacy immune to environment damage, so only Voss takes this damage. Environment plays Self-Destruct Sequence. When this card comes into play, put the top 2 cards of the environment deck face down next to it. That pile is the countdown pile. If the countdown pile is ever empty, everyone dies! Game over! At the start of their turn, a player may skip the rest of their turn to put the top card of the environment deck onto the countdown pile. At the start of the environment turn, if the countdown pile contains 5 cards, the sequence has been aborted and the countdown pile and this card are destroyed. Otherwise, discard the top card of the countdown pile. It's a lot of text for an environment card. What this basically means is that there's going to be 2 cards face down next to this card, which is the countdown pile. If that pile ever gets empty, the game's over. We lose. But at the start of the turn, a player may skip the rest of their turn. A player may skip the rest of their turn to put the top card of the environment deck onto the countdown pile. Unfortunately, I won't be able to utilize that clause because I played Heroic Interception before Self-Destruct Sequence, so I'm not going to have that Meteor Storm trick going for us. Again. But if we skip basically our next 3 turns, then the countdown pile will have 5 cards, which will stop the sequence from happening, and this card gets destroyed. But this card only gets dangerous if there's 1 card in the countdown pile. That's when things really we should start thinking about things. So do I want to keep Oxygen Leak? Because there's still only 7 cards in the environment trash, right? Unfortunately, we do not have another Heroic Interception, and the card that I said was boring, Shielding Winds, is not in play, so it wouldn't save us a bit from that damage. But would hit Voss for 7. Is it worth sacrificing hero points for that purpose, though? To that end? I mean, with Legacy and Danger Sense, I really don't even need to worry about Oxygen Leak. And actually, Oxygen Leak will save us from the Firesworn's damage as well as Voss's lowest HP damage. So we do get a little bit of benefit from that. A little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. Just a little bit. Actually, the Firesworn isn't even going to do anything because this would target Tempest, or we can select it to target Tempest, who's immune to damage. Shock Infantry will target Tempest, who's immune to damage. This one is the only one that's going to hit Legacy, and it's going to be for 1 point of damage, which is boring. I don't know. I mean, 7 damage to Voss would be nice. And we are about to win, so I think I'm going to go ahead and play risky. Especially because the forced deployments are getting destroyed, and these minions are not doing much. First card play, Genebound Soldier. Second card play, oh, this goes first. Yes, let's stop Voss from hitting Tempest. And a net. And then the second card play is the Firesworn. So it's still a little boring. This order doesn't matter. And then that hit Tempest, and that hit Tempest. Alright, that was super exciting. Alright, now it does matter what damage type I select, I think. Tempest is highest HP hero, so Voss is going to try to hit Tempest for energy, so let's reduce energy to Tempest. And then Voss has damage reduction of 6 because of 6 minions, and my Vicious Cyclone was doing 6 damage each, so it makes no sense to discard cards. But now, this order super matters, because we're going to target everything but Voss, and destroy everything but Voss, and then we'll hit Voss for a lot of damage. So I have to make sure that I select a damage type that no minion... Or, select a damage type so that the minion takes that damage type. There are 2 damage types that minions don't have. You have 5 seconds to figure out what 2 damage types listed here are not damage types that minions have. Did you say Infernal and Radiant? Because you're correct. I'm just going to select Infernal for all of these, just so I don't have to think. And order still matters. And now Voss takes the full damage. This one doesn't have to be Infernal. He's not immune to any damage type, so I'm just going to move on to Lightning. It does matter that I don't select Fire, by the way. Oxygen Leak is still out. Do I want to skip the rest of my turn? No, I want to do things on my turn. I could Aquatic Correspondence to get more cards to feed Vicious Cyclone on the next turn, or I could do Lightning Slash and do 10 points of damage to Voss. I'm going to opt for that, because I'm selfish with my damage. Not Fire. 10 points of damage! 10 wasn't enough. Let's do an additional 7. Not Fire. Tempest draws Cleansing Downpour. Ongoing. Power. Each hero target regains 2 HP. Do we need that? Not really. Alright, do I want to skip the rest of my turn? Nah, there are 2 cards. We're fine. Superhuman Durability would reduce damage dealt to Legacy by 3 if it's 5 or more, which is boring. Danger Sense is already in play. So let's play Bolster Allies. Tempest draws another Genebound Shackles. Legacy draws Surge of Strength. Ongoing Limited. Increased damage dealt by Legacy by 1. Visionary draws Mass Levitation. Ongoing. Power. Until the start of your next turn, reduce damage dealt by environment cards by 3. Not really super exciting. Galvanize, Motivational Charge. And Legacy draws Lead from the Front. Ongoing Limited. Whenever a hero target will be dealt damage by a villain card, you may redirect that damage to Legacy. This is an example of card art referencing a future expansion, by the way. Those are Proletariats, which don't appear until Vengeance. I do not want to skip the rest of my turn. I think if I do this correctly, we should win on Tempest's next turn. So I'm just going to opt for more damage. So Psychic Maelstrom. And then let's Turmoil Voss. Minion and Minion. This is lowest HP 2 energy. This is lowest HP 2 toxic. Basically the same. But I'm going to opt for the Ion Lancer because I think potentially Tempest will be dealt that damage and it'll be reduced by 1 because of the energy reduction that Tempest currently has. And Visionary draws Mass Levitation. Alright, so this is 7 toxic. Actually, no, the energy damage is going towards Legacy. Never mind. This actually is going to change things a little bit, but oh well. I was originally thinking Tempest was going to take 1 point of energy damage from Voss, although actually will be 2 points because of the Nemesis bonus, which would make him the lowest HP hero, and then the Ion Lancer would target Tempest, but this is fine. An order doesn't matter. Self-destruct sequence counts down. Fire in the Biosphere. Which, by the way, fire damage is reduced by 3 as long as I keep Oxygen Leak in play, which I am, because I don't need to destroy it. And now this does 0 damage. Technically -1 damage because of Fire in the Biosphere. Or, sorry, because of Oxygen Leak, so I don't have to do anything with this. Alright, the Ion Lancer, as well as... oh yeah, this damage dealing. And then the Force Deployment. Alright, that's the 3rd Force Deployment. but it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna select energy. But I don't have to discard for this. I could technically win right now if I discard, but instead I'm going to win. Alright, let's just select Infernal. We're gonna win this way. I get to save my cards, as long as I don't select Fire. I didn't actually have Into the Stratosphere. I discarded that, because I said I didn't need it. And so, I was thinking I was potentially going to play that to put the forced deployment on the top of Voss's deck, so it doesn't act immediately. It doesn't count as being destroyed, it's just being moved to the top of the villain deck. And then that would hit Voss for a lot of damage. But I didn't have that in hand anyway, so it didn't matter. So that's a near mint, because I rewinded. I sort of regret doing that. I didn't really need to rewind. It was just nice because I wanted Tempest to have that Gene-bound Shackles, and I wanted Legacy to have that Legacy Ring. And foolish me forgot how I had ordered things. But this was basically, or it would have been a mint except for that mishap. I feel bad saying that because it was a near mint because I rewinded, so I'll just say near mint. But at least you can see that this match wasn't outright terrible on advanced. And I did mint this back when it was first released in January of 2016. So that was fun. I was thinking of perhaps playing the standard edition for the sake of continuity, but this has been an hour-and-a-half long video, so I think if I'm going to do that, I'm either going to do that next week, which would be a rather boring installment, or I'm just going to save that for some later thing, because I do want to finish getting videos of the early one-shots. But the standard game is the same as the advanced game, because it's the same seed, the same RNG seed that you start with. So we're going to have the same starting hands, and Voss's deck is arranged in the same manner. But it will be easier to deal damage on the front side because we will not have the damage reduction on Voss's advanced text. So in particular, I should be able to destroy Tamar like almost immediately. But furthermore, when Voss flips, he does not play an additional card, so there's no penalty for flipping Voss. There's no need to get as set up. Plus, it's really easy to just keep Voss in a state of perpetuity once you have him flipped. You could get forced deployment in play, you could Into the Stratosphere forced deployment, then his next card play is forced deployment, you Into the Stratosphere it. That is actually what I had done. Like, it's the only thing I remember of that game that I played in advanced in January of 2016 was that I had used Into the Stratosphere like 3 times to keep forced deployment on the top. And ultimately, I ended up killing him before that forced deployment ended up going off, but it was a nice way to just sort of slow him down a bit. Alright, I've blabbered enough. This is Lou Dolphin, thank you for watching this, hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave feedback in the comments. Particular feedback I would be interested in hearing. Do I spend too much time reading cards? Should I cut that out? I was doing that just because it helps me keep the game a little slower and easier to understand for people unfamiliar with the game, but if my usual audience consists of regular Sentinel players, I could just cut it out and we'll just play games faster that way, potentially have faster matches than an hour and a half. Granted, whoever's watching this at this point probably, well, watches them for the educational value, so I don't know. But yeah, anyway, this is Lou Dolphin tuning out. Thank you.